pro.
I'll make my own statement. So, because I go back probably a few more years than my friend did. I worked with the Transformers in the 1980s at Marvel Comics. But if you don't know that, what I did was I developed a lot of the characters, I named a lot of the characters, I edited the first 4 issue miniseries for Marvel Comics, and then I wrote most of the next 51 issues as a writer. So, in a nutshell, that was my involvement. Over the course of about 5.5 years, from late 1983 through about midway through 1989, I was working on the Transformers through Marvel Comics and for Hasbro. So over that period of time, I named about 250 of the characters. I wrote their profiles, wrote their box copies on boxes. Period. What
I wrote the toys. So I've been working with IDW Comics for the last 11 years, pretty much since they got the license. Started off doing like letters page artwork for the editor-in-chief, Chris Royal, because he's a very vain, very gentle, very vain man. And I wanted to see himself drawn as a Transformer, so I started off doing that, and that led to covers, which led to interiors, which then really, despite anyone really wanting me to do it, including me, led to writing Transformers, the first issue, right as a writer being the cover spotlight. And then subsequently I got more and more work with IDW, and got lucky enough to sort of work on the first Record series with James Roberts. And recently we just done Sins of the Record, which is the sequel to that. But it's mainly sort of like fleshing out the IDW universe. We kind of, as James and I both attested it a few times, trying to recapture, the good old days. It's like Bob and Simon's and stuff. Is fueled us and turned us into the fine, upstanding, and well-read gentlemen we are today. So it's Bob and Simon are kind of like our comic book parents, for better or for worse, whether they want us to be they want to be involved in paying alimony or not. So yeah. So that's me. And I think one of the things that we have in common is the fact that we're both writer artists, essentially.
Yeah, also I left out, while I was writing the Transformers, I did most of the most of the sketches for the covers that then went to artists to do the actual covers, and I drew about a half a dozen covers myself. So that too.
And do you find then that obviously helps you when you're writing for artists, that you've got a good sense of what's doable and what's fair?
Yeah, well, at the time, Marvel had what was called the Marvel way of writing, which is you did a plot, went to the artist, and then it came back to the writer to dialogue it, and that allowed the artists to really expand upon the plots they were given. You had artists with terrific imaginations, and whether true or not, the feeling of Marvel was if you allow the artist to use their imagination to get a more dynamic, more exciting story. So by doing it that way, not limiting them to dialogue, but giving them just a plot to build on, we got perhaps a more exciting product. And also, I mentioned I worked doing most of the cover sketches over the time that I was while I was writing it. I would often start my stories with a cover idea. What would make a good cover? And then I would kind of work my way around that and build out the story from that.
That's genius. That's how comics should be made. That's great. The Marvel style of writing is one that is used. It's not used as much these days, even at Marvel, although sometimes it will get used. But on the Transformers Infestation series that Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning did, I was the artist on that. They wrote that Marvel style. It's the first time that I had a chance to sort of work like that. It's kind of daunting, but you just got to kind of grab the bull with both horns and say, hey, look, I'm being allowed to kind of have fun and let loose here. And it is, as Bob says, it's basically like sort of, you might get like sort of a page and 5 things that kind of have to happen on that page, and you get to sort of kind of, pick your camera angles and pick your staging and work it that way. And then obviously when I did some work for Marvel, I worked that way too as well. Like Andy Lanning's still the first to work in that style, so I was working with him. So it's as an artist, it's interesting because so many writers are different. Like Furman writes full script. He does these days, and like James Roberts, who writes the more design series, he writes like full script. He writes like Alan Moore style. He writes that full book. So for a 20-page comic, you might get a 60-page script, which it's nice that the detail is in there, and it's also a daunting when you're the artist drawing. That's why I don't draw James' scripts anymore. Any
Any questions about?
Any questions about the creative process? I think that's what we're here for, to talk about how you approach writing stories, creating them. We're here for you. You can go up to the mic.
Okay, so obviously Transformers is a very big lore. Do you guys have any personal strategies that you use in order to keep a grip on all the information or anything like that?
Well, currently we're blessed to have the TF wiki who kind of does all four. It's invaluable. It's, and like anyone who doesn't know if you need to know anything about what's going on or kind of catch up, the TF wiki is like a tireless staff of people who are so giving of their time that will just chronicle everything that's going on. And you know, we like to say that the current batch of writers that we're just out there, we're blazing the trail, and you know, it's all in our heads, man. It's not. You know, I was having a conversation like only a few minutes ago about how you know that we do our homework honest and we do work hard, but the fans work harder. You know, they're devouring these comics at a level that a molecular level. You know, so those fans are the ones that kind of contribute to things like the wiki and online discussions, and it's fair to say that the feedback loop kind of will inform us as far as kind of keeping. I mean, each writer, it depends on the story. So, like for miniseries, I've only written miniseries, and so obviously I'll have kind of like a list of those 5 issues. I know kind of where everyone's going and how it's all going to dovetail. But that's only kind of juggling 5 issues worth of kind of characters. You know, like a dozen or so main characters really. I know like James and John Barber do have huge, kind of PowerPoint and Excel spreadsheets and stuff. You know, so I don't know how Bob's method would be.
Well, I had a big advantage over the current generation of Transformers writing. Like you asked a question about how do you keep track of all that information. I created all that information. I didn't have to keep track of anybody's information but my own. So I didn't need to refer to anything. I mean, all I needed to refer to were the actual, characters I was using. And I wasn't the artist. It was the artist that had the burden of drawing 20 different characters with 20 different piles of reference for each character. So my work in that regard, not just getting the stories themselves, but in that regard, about tracking things was relatively easy because things are much more simple and primitive back in the 1980s. You didn't have this expanded Transformers universe.
I have a artist friend that I'm trying to sort of collaborate with in a comic sort of side project of our own. And like, do you have any advice or pitfalls or pet peeves for when you're trying to communicate? Well, I mean, like working on a creative project together, and so, maybe someone has one creative idea, or kind of like, I don't want to dictate to her too much. Like, I want it to look like this because she's the artist, and she probably has, she knows what will look really good, on the page and that kind of thing. But I also have a sort of visual, when I'm writing, I have a kind of visual imagination, so I want to kind of dictate what this scene should look like and the layout. But do you have any advice for, from working with artists and being artists, what you would prefer?
I mean, I don't think there's any harm in laying it out. You might as well express it. You're writing. You can express that this is how I would like it, and then if it is a collaborative process, then the artist says, "Look, let's talk about it." And then I guess just be open to your collaborator. I think is probably the best advice, and just assume that you're gonna have to sort of like back down and pick which mountain is mountain is yours to die on. So it's but also just listen to like your artist, I suppose. And the thing is, I think if you show that you're kind of willing to acquiesce to some of the artist decisions, then chances are that he or she'll be sort of willing to do similar to you. So there'll be a time when she'll read it and you'll give her maybe a quite explicit instruction, and she'll be like, yeah, she'll give back too. Do you know what I mean? But it's I don't know if there's anything like how to deal with friction necessarily. I mean, I'm assuming that there is with you, but like it's kind of just keeping communication open is obviously the thing, and I suppose just realize that at the end of the day, the visuals are I guess you originated it, like, but really it's visual medium, isn't it? You know, and
Yeah.
I guess if you, well, it'd be harsh if you could do the artwork, you know. So it's I know it sounds really harsh, but it's I think it's kind of true. Yeah, just trust your collaborator, I guess.
Do you ever provide sketches of your ideas, or you just describe things?
I haven't tried doing sketches or anything like that.
Are you afraid to offend your partner?
Well, more I'm not.
I mean, even if it was a crude sketch, if you have a visual idea, give your collaborator a crude sketch and say, here's my initial idea, but please, take it, expand upon it, you go crazy with it, make it much better than this. I can't draw. You can, be encouraging. Don't. I think since you're generating the initial ideas, don't hold yourself back. But always encourage your collaborator. Like, yeah, here's how far I can take it, but you could do so much more with it. Or maybe you have a different take and you'd like to discuss it with me. I would frequently, except because I happen to be an artist, I would frequently provide a very detailed sketch of a new character, and the artist would just take it that way. But there were plenty of times when I wrote some plots. Here's my idea of what's going on in the scene. Blah blah blah. But exactly like just said, feel free to take it way beyond this. Go crazy. And that worked pretty well with most of the artists. To encourage.
Thanks, guys.
Hi. I've been aspiring to write for a Transformer since I was about 14 years old. So I was wondering about y'all's advice on how do folks cross the barrier from fan to official writer? Like, how have you seen it done before?
Bob is an editor, so has been an editor. So
well, I was an editor a century ago, so I think it probably changed. I guess there are so many outlets these days that didn't exist when I was editing comics. All sorts of online stuff, and people can self-publish and put things online. So that's where a lot of fans begin. How to translate that into getting the attention of an actual publishing company that will actually pay you to do this? I'm a little bit at a loss. It's really not. Each company has their own policies about how to submit work. Obviously, you go to conventions, you try to meet publishers, representatives there, hopefully editors, and talk to them and develop a relationship with them. I think it's just, it's probably persistence as much as anything else. But I don't think there's any one specific way you can describe. Sometimes you're at the right place at the right time. Sometimes you get to know a person, or you know somebody working at a company, or you find some little in, to get yourself noticed. Like with Transformers, I didn't walk into the editor-in-chief's office and demand to work on Transformers. I happened to be at the right place at the right time. He was looking for somebody desperately to develop these character profiles. And I was at the fifth choice. The other four guys turned them down. And I was able to do it over a weekend and continue doing it. So I was in the right place at the right time and was able to seize the opportunity. But that was just my story. Everybody has their own story. And I don't know what the best way to do it is, frankly, using. But I think there's so many people out there getting their work out in all sorts of venues. Just have to keep pushing.
I mean, my thing would be to find an artist to kind of collaborate with, because an editor is not going to read a text document after cold, like you don't want to sort of see that this will translate into like published work or a readable comic, and that's kind of it. And it also helps to even like self-published, you have more chance of an editor like reading like an actual comic, like possibly a PDF, but definitely kind of like something they can kind of hold, and kind of flick through and kind of give a chance to, because they're not going to spend the time. Like it's the whole the old story that writers can't get their portfolios with that at conventions, because an artist can be hired, and have been hired on like one page, but like that's not going to happen at like a convention with a sample. Like it's a. So I think if you're serious about writing, first of all, I wouldn't sort of focus on purely like if Transformers is what I want to write. Having said that, all I wanted to do was draw Transformers when I was younger, so it did happen. But so there's obviously something to be said for focusing. But I guess just make sure you can write anything. Like you put a story together. Kind of like beginning, middle, ending. Have to be strong, have characters be strong, and I guess you have to like be finding a good collaborator to kind of do. So even if it is like a self-published kind of like a fan fiction effort. And then even fan fiction, a Transformers editor is not going to read Transformers fan fiction purely because, like, people come to me at the table today. Like, I haven't got any Transformers gigs booked writing-wise, but I can't listen to anyone sort of say, hey, do you know what would be good for the vectors? Because, you know, if somehow, you know, it sparks something up, or even if I kind of rely on that something like independently, like that person could be saying, oh, how I didn't think that idea. Do you know what I mean? So it's like an unsolicited idea. So I would try and come up with, I guess it's hard to, just come up with your own, create your own universe, or, you know, come up with your own story, but I try and make something original together in a package of some kind, like so. And shows like this are great, and there is an online community now where you can find talented artists who are looking for a good script, and an artist will give up their time to draw and finish a good script. So if your script is good enough, you will find someone to kind of, you know, use their weekends to kind of put together like a sample. So I guess that, but then also going to these shows are good if there's editors there, you know, which there aren't any here, but like stuff like San Diego Comic Con, New York City Comic Con, New York Comic Con, you get like an IDW editor there, or any comic company editors there, but build up a relationship and sort of showing that you kind of you're just like you carry yourself professionally, or you're not like a crackpot person, means that they might sort of say, hey, yeah, shoot me an email. Like I got the job right purely by chance. They were looking for a new direction, going to do a series of new spotlights, and they sort of said we were working a new assignment on them, and did I know anyone? And because like I had built a relationship with Chris Ryan, because it's just like relatively well written emails that show that I know the stories, and I can probably get my storytelling, the artwork told, and I can, you know, I have the chops to tell a story. That's how I got my chance, because I'd already drawn the comics for them. So it was mainly, I guess, essentially through a relationship that I built with an editor, and I guess I did that relationship by drawing Transformers comics. So it's, you know, it's like, that's not the route that everyone can take, you know. So, but I think, yeah. But
your route and mine are kind of similar.
Really,
we were both in the right spot.
Yeah.
When the opportunity came up, we were able to seize that opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, we were both. Were you staff or you?
No, it's freelance, but
freelance, but you had a relationship with an editor.
Yeah, really.
I was on staff. I had a relationship with my superior, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's one way of doing it. You know, starting here and moving up to there. But you know, like you're saying, self-publishing, finding a collaborator, getting something in print, very important.
Yeah. And people, money is kind of short on the ground. I don't know. Sometimes if you really believe in your writing, I think you can hiring an artist, or at least kind of compensating an artist for the time. That's, you know, I'm not saying that again. That's not going to be a nailed on way to get through either, like and all, but I know some people have done it. You know what I mean? So good luck, though.
Thank
Best
you.
luck.
Hi, I have a question. Both of you have experience writing villains who've like really stepped it up, like Comic Shockwave, with like he goes full for it. Like there's monologuing to Optimus Prime's disembodied head. Like he starts off walking through a room of Autobot corpses. Like that's such a different step up from Megatron. And you've written Overlord. I don't know what he steps about. But do you have any advice on writing villains that like step it up from the previously established villains?
Oh, I mean, you just try to find a new angle. I mean, I don't know if there's any really new angles, frankly. Everything's been done one way or another. But you look for something that's going to get somebody's attention. You know, that it's not just the same old, almost cliches that people have been using. You try to find a new way to present, whether it's a villain or a hero or any character. You just want to make them fresh and original and have a unique perspective. But it's so hard to say, well, here's how you do a villain. You know, it's like, it really depends on the story and what the personality is, what the villain's goals are. And a lot of times villains don't think of themselves as villains. You know, they have their own objectives. They feel that they're doing the right thing by their value system. So that's another thing to consider. Just being evil for the sake of evil is kind of boring. If the villain thinks he's doing something right, but everybody else thinks he's doing something wrong, then you have shifting loyalties. There's a point to what he's doing here. A lot of times in Transformers, going way back, I had the bad guy, and then I had another bad guy, and this guy thinks he had a better way of running the Decepticons than that guy. So he had his own perspective on what to do, and what to do was pretty nasty, but it came out of like good intentions. He wanted to run the best organization of Decepticons that he could. So
I think nailing your villain's motivation is nearly the most important thing, but the thing to spend the most time on, and that was kind of hammered into me by Andy Schmidt, the editor on Last Stand of the Records. He was really not necessarily the overlord was just the kind of hammy sort of just want to watch the world burn sort of character, but he was very much like, really, like, you're giving him, you build a well-rounded character on the page, but he's like, it's on the page, he's saying, what do you want and stuff like that. He really made us go, and that's how we pushed and figured out that he's got the Megatron, notice me Megatron thing about it going on, and similarly with Sins of the Records, that was the one thing that I knew I had to work super hard at, was like sort of make sure that the villain kind of like, had some sort of connection to the hero or what the heroes wanted or needed, and again, he's the hero, but he himself is the hero of his story, isn't he? I think make your villain's motivation watertight, but as far as kind of escalating your kind of the villainy to kind of, I suppose maybe it's just a case of like looking at what's gone before and saying, well, look, those are now de rigueur, that's been done. So if we're doing that again, then we haven't gone anywhere. And sometimes it's just a case of even looking at what upsets you, or kind of what do you find objectionable, and I find spiders objectionable, so transfers to people Sins of the Records, so stuff like that. I mean, like he obviously appeals on a primal level, like he's a big freaking spider, it's a good bad guy to have. So, but then like all spiders, they're just afraid, just like us, So it's that way, just kind of pick on things that, like, if it's something you find objectionable, or something you're fearful of, or if there's an event that you would hate to come to pass, then obviously that's something that you would speak to you. So if you can come up with a villain that can kind of operate on those things and be the one to kind of bring that stuff about, then solidify the motivations as a villain, and your story should follow.
Hey, writer, artist, predominantly artist. I'm wondering, do you have any advice on doing an action scene while maintaining the fluidity of motion and keeping the pacing up without, I guess, letting it drag? What do you have? What advice do you have for action scenes, I guess?
Make them readable at all the times anyway. Don't worry too much about it. You want to keep it visually interesting, so you want to kind of keep your camera angles varied, but without being distracting. So, if it's an action scene, the action needs to be clear and legible. You might kind of have like a knuckles eye view of a punch and stuff, but if it's not really clear where that punch is, coming from, So I guess don't be afraid to be kind of maybe meat and potatoes about it a little bit when you're first doing action scenes, because I think they need to be clean and readable, and then they can build up from that really. But also like varying your camera angles slightly, Also action as well is kind of good if it works, because we read, like in the West, we read left to right, so if you've got action kind of travelling across the panel from left to right, it will seem like things are kind of moving faster, like you're kind of, so if you're like a car chase, for example, which very rarely works in comics, but if that car is travelling this way across the page, it's going to feel like there's sort of speed, whereas if the car is travelling this way across the page, it just feel like it's kind of coming towards you, it's kind of obstructing, it's limiting sort of the speed that we read that scene at, for example. So I guess be aware of things like that, perhaps.
Well, what if it's a horizontal thing, like someone's going up a parking garage while dealing with mooks?
I guess, if you're going up a parking garage, well, what do you mean? So the character's traveling up?
Yeah, they have to get from ground floor to the top to hit them.
I guess I would maybe use a slender vertical panel, perhaps, and just literally show the character's relationship with his goal, and even if that character's on, say, for example, the lower left of that panel, looking up at his goal, where he needs to get or whatever, and it could be something like that. So, and then you could possibly use perspective then to kind of like draw the readers. Something kind of, it's kind of hard to be specific about it, but if you, at least if your character's kind of like on the left hand side, you're kind of seeing their point of view, then at least you're reading it kind of left to right. Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple of, it's really hard to be specific when saying how do you do an action scene without seeing a story, but a couple of generalized things. Number one is, don't break the action to have characters stop and talk.
Yeah.
Okay. probably Stan Lee, if you remember who Stan Lee was. Like he was writing action stuff for comics. These guys would have like, they would talk, college thesis while they're punching each other. They would go on and on. That might have been too extreme, but you can take some artist liberty and they can talk to each other even though they're getting smashed in the face because you don't want to slow up the action by stopping people to give exposition or snappy dialogue or whatever. You can take a little bit of liberty that way. The other thing is compare comics to movies. In a movie, a typical second of a movie has 24 frames in it.
Yeah.
Right? A particular action might last a couple of seconds. So you might be talking about 100 or 200 frames of individual movements to comprise one action. In a comic, you pretty much got one panel to do what you could do in 100 or 200 frames in a movie.
Yeah.
You got to figure out, in that action, what is the most effective way to show that action to its utmost. Pick out the frame in that movie, if that was a movie, pick out the frame that shows the action in the most extreme, powerful, expressive way, and that's what you want to do. Don't pick out the frame that's in the middle of the action where the guy's going like this.
Yeah.
Pick out the frame where he's, going to some extreme, to the extremity of that particular movement.
Yeah, Marvel style.
Yeah, exactly. It's not telling you stuff you already know. So that's good. You know that stuff. So, but those are things, because when I was an editor, I'd see a lot of people who were trying to break in, a lot of artists, showing me stuff that was just bland because they didn't take it to that next step. They showed me something that was kind of vaguely in the middle of the action that wasn't that kind of interesting. And so I try to encourage people to think about, what's the most powerful point in that particular movement.
Yeah, so a strong sense of dynamicism.
Yeah, but that's going to have the most impact on the reader.
Okay. One last thing. How would you script that? Like, what would be a good way of conveying that to an artist?
Conveying that to an artist?
Yeah, like, what would you say? Like, because my notes are rip off Rumble in the Bronx and hope nobody notices.
If you're working with a good artist, you wouldn't have to say those things. They would just assume that they're going to make that action as powerful as they can.
Yeah.
So if you think your artist needs to be prompted, you need to say that in your plot. You have dialogue, and you also have like a paragraph before the dialogue describing the scene, right? For that panel, you just say, really make this powerful, or really, play up this movement, whatever the movement is. Again, experienced artists don't have to be told that sort of thing. They know that's what they're being paid to do. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you for your time.
Hello. Second question is for Bob Budiansky. There's certain comic book stories that have just kind of stuck with me my whole life. I remember, and one was the original Marvel comics Transformers Into the Smelting Pool. Into the Smelting Pool. I was wondering what your inspiration was behind that story.
Oh, okay, so he's asking about a story I wrote called Into the Smelting Pool, which I think was Transformers number 23 from Generation 1, which happens to be my favorite story that I wrote my entire run of Transformers story. What was my inspiration? It was a couple of things. Okay, number one, as Transformers became successful, Hasbro kept rolling out another line of toys like every 6 months, another 20 or 30 toys or whatever. So I had to figure, so we had the original Transformer treatment of a spaceship crashes on Earth, the Ark crashes on Earth, and all the Decepticons and all the Autobots that are going to be fighting each other in that particular spaceship. Except for all these new characters that Hasbro introduces 6 months later or a year later. So I had to figure out a way to introduce new characters. That was my first story that took us to Cybertron. And the gimmick in that story was that there was a space bridge that the Decepticons were building so they could send more Decepticons to Earth for whatever reason. So that was the underlying reason for that story. So I could create another method of creating more, or bringing more Transformers into the comic. The actual inspiration for some of the action in the story, some of the events in the story, and the structure of the story was an old movie based on So if you look at the climax of that story, you compare it to Gun the Din, they're very similar. That which brings up another point, which is, as a writer, I was always looking for inspiration from any place I could find it. So whether it was a news story, a movie, an old book, an old movie, something I saw on TV, something I remember from my childhood, something I did for vacation last year, I would bring those elements into what I was writing because that's right based on what you know, and based on your experience and the stimulus around you and all that. So that particular story I remember specifically, that was the inspiration for it, partially.
Thank you. I need to go check that movie out. I got to see it in like a really long time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like 1930s.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Okay, so obviously both of you guys are writers and artists, and a lot of people talk about like who made them want to do things, but I'm wondering like what kind of concepts or visuals when you were growing up or whatever were you seeing or maybe not seeing that made you think, I want to do that?
I mean, my answer is stuff. Like it's got, it's him and Simon Farman were like sort of like, yeah, that please, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah, no, I think we could in the UK, which I'm not from, I'm very much from Ireland. But we get, we got the UK comic, we got it weekly. So and as everyone knows, like they sort of like have a few weeks of sort of the American reprints, and then they sort of switch over to the Farman Run and Riot with the kind of the post movie cast, a lot of the time. And so kind of on any given week, I was getting some Brian Furman or a nice slice of Budiansky, in my letterbox. So yeah, I was kind of getting like a good education from both. They're both like different writers, but they're both building. It's the world building of both of them, So it's, and that's kind of something that obviously I would try to emulate. Like James, co-writer is excellent at the world building. Like I always describe it with James that he likes to lick the character so no one else can use it, So he'll sort of like, my character like, here's his origin. Nah. And he's great at doing that, So yeah, like my primary comic education would be like the Transformers reprints, really. So it's that when the Transformers comics folded, I had to sort of graduate to Big Boy Comics, and it just happened to be at the time when Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld's kind of X comics were starting to be available in like local kind of bookshops. We didn't have any comic shops where we lived, and so that would have been kind of like my next sort of taste of